Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thank you for joining us. If you have a chance, head down below and hit the like and subscribe button. I know a lot of families out there, homeschooling families, need to begin to prepare our children to take standardized tests. And this can be a sticky situation. How do we do that? How do we prepare our children? How do we train that muscle? How do we train the act of taking tests? And one of the ways that I'm doing this right now is using this test prep guidebook from the Harcourt Family Learning. I got this book for about $7-8 online. It's about 130 pages, covers about 7 units. That covers reading comprehension, math, vocabulary, listening skills, and it gives you 6 full-length practice tests. Now, this is for the first grade, and I have a third grader who's doing this, and I'll talk a little bit about how I'm using this book as I go through the review to help train my child on how to take a standardized test, kind of demystify the actions needed. So if you're looking for a way to begin to train your young student on how to take a standardized test, let's go ahead and hop in and see what I'm doing. So here's the workbook right here, grade 1, and I have a third grader, and so what I've done is I said, okay, she has to take the standardized test this year. I'm going to start her off early, something that's super easy, so she is not afraid of the content that I'm teaching her. I'm going to go ahead and start her on grade 1 and work her up to grade 3, allowing her to get the feel of taking these tests. So this is basically just a very simple workbook. I take this every day. We practice this pretty much every day. It's about 120 pages long. And then we'll just go ahead and take a look on the inside. What's really nice is here they give you a nice layout of kind of the strategy behind the book. Now this is not tied to any one state's test or any one company's testing method. What this is basically a workbook that can help train your student to read answers, find answers within the bubble charts, read content, go ahead and answer those questions on that content. Now this is for first grade, and it is intended that the parent is reading this content to their learner, and that they are then answering the questions. But I have a third grader who can read the content, and I'm asking her as almost like a practice to read that content. And I'll show you what that looks like. But right out at the beginning, they talk about the workbook, talk about how to use this workbook, the principles behind test taking. Obviously, the test taking is a skill to be learned, using time wisely, avoiding errors, using in your reasoning, and if you get stuck, try to guess. How to create a nice little space for your child to do this, how to handle the test taking, and then what to do after the test. Once you get through this content, you go ahead and you hop in right into the first thing. And what's really nice is they divide up all these units. And what I use is these sticky notes to hop between what I call the mini tests and then the full tests at the very end of the chapters. And I use these sticky notes to kind of guide me on where I am in both of those so I can find where we left off. But here in like unit 1, I'll use this as an example. This is a word study skill. So in this entire section, this entire unit, we're going to be talking about words. So in this case, they say name the picture, listen to the beginning of the sound, read the words, find the word with the same beginning sound. So we have a book and we have bed. So they're looking for the sound of B at the beginning. So a bucket and a bug. We have a carrot and a kite, even though those have 2 separate letters, they have the same sound. We have mittens and a mop. And you can see how straightforward and easy this is. And with my more advanced reader, I wasn't doing the reading for the parents. So they say the text that appears in blue is intended to be read by an adult. I didn't do that. I actually asked her to read it so she can get used to reading descriptions because she's more of an advanced reader. But if you have a first grader, I would recommend you to follow the instructions and do the reading that's necessary. And you can see here, it's about 2 pages. And what's really nice at the bottom, they have these arrows and indicators to say go on, and then they finally tell you when to stop. And so they treat it as sort of like a mini test or informational. So you're doing the information, and then when you turn that, they have what they call a test. And you can see how the test is laid out, and they inform you to stop at the end, and at the end of that, we go into the next unit. The way I was using this on a day-to-day basis was I was asking my learner to do basically 2 pages at a time. So we would do 2 pages at a time, and I would close it up and she's done for the day. And then the next day I would ask her to do 2 more pages. And this is something I was doing every single day, doing these 2 pages for her at a 3rd grade level, doing the 1st grade book as a practice and kind of an exercise. Took her less than 3 or 4 minutes, and I used it as kind of a warm-up for our homeschool day. And I did not even distinguish these little tests from our day-to-day activity. So again, I just asked her to do 2 pages. When we finally finished the unit and we were on to the next unit, I would have her go and jump to the actual mini test. And the mini tests then go ahead and actually align to the practice test. So the practice test 1 for the word study skills. So that unit 1 has this unit 8 test. And now this test, I actually had her take as a complete element. So you can see here, it's 1 page, it is 2 pages, it is 3 pages here, it is 4 pages, and then they indicate for you to stop. So it's basically a 4-page test, and I treated it as that. For her, I was asking her to read these on the side, and then she would go ahead and answer the question. So she had to pay attention to what numbers they were. They had to pay attention so that she can go through and do the right thing, so she didn't read the wrong section and answer in the wrong area. So she had to make sure and do that, and I did not help her through this section, and I let her do this. I found this to be very helpful. This was very easy for her because it was a 1st grade level. I didn't really know where to start, so I said, let's just start off at kindergarten, the 1st grade level, and let's just do the easiest thing first, and then we'll go ahead and just, rip through it fast, see how it goes, and then move on from there. And I think that was the best approach for us to do. So she got a lot of good confidence and she got used to taking the test. I think when we started this book, it was the first time she had ever done any bubble answering. So she had to understand that there's only one right answer. In some of the tests, they begin to have a no answer. I think further in, they have a no answer available. I think in the math section here, they actually have a not here as an answer. They also have in some of the reading comprehension areas, all the above as an option as well. So really learning the act of taking a test. So here, not here, not here, not here. So they were using that as a way to have you read every single answer and make sure that you didn't just choose the first one that looked right. So that was something that she had to get kind of used to, because a lot of times she wanted to jump on that thing. So here the answer was actually not here. So she had to actually fill that in. Sometimes it had a little bit of handwriting, but most of the time it was just bubble answers that were available. Now, all the skills that you're going to be doing here, the next one, obviously, unit 2. So here we did 6 reading skills. So they're skill number 1, determining word meanings. Okay. And then the next one is skill 2, recognizing main ideas. In this case, you're expected to read this for your 1st grader, but my daughter's old enough to read this, so she was able to read these questions and go ahead and ask, read the question and get the right answer, so she could read from this selection. This is very similar to the level that she's going to be doing for 1st grade, but I went ahead for 3rd grade, and I went ahead and had her do that now on this 1st grade book. Unit 3 covers reading comprehension. So again, here you're reading just a very simple action. So Claire's mother is reading her a what? And you look at the photo, oh, it's a book. So simple reading comprehension options for here, a little bit longer passages. Again, asking questions that pertain to that passage. Very simple and straightforward. They did have a couple sections on math, so problem solving here. I believe it was 2 sections total on math. And covering all, just very simple, straightforward 1st grade level math. For her, that was very easy. This one was a listening section. So this was the only section that I actually read to my daughter. So if I discover some treasure, I will be rich. To discover something is to, and then she would have to read the answers and say, oh, to find it. And then she would have bubbled in the right one. This was the only section that I actually read to her because I thought, this is the skill they're trying to do, is listening comprehension, and so I went ahead and did that. But all the other sections, I actually had my daughter read that to herself or to me, and then go ahead and answer those questions. I hope that brief little walkthrough on this test prep book that I've been using here in the last few weeks has helped you. This is a kind of a hidden little thing that I'm having to work through with my daughter, knowing that at the end of this year, she's going to have to take her first standardized test. And that was something I did not want her to have a bad experience on. I didn't want her to come into the test and have good confidence and not have seen this type of content for the first time. And this is a big effort that I'm making this year. And I wanted to be able to incorporate some way of getting her familiar with the act of taking a test. And I have been using this test prep book. I'm going to go on to the second grade book and then ultimately the 3rd grade book. Hopefully, we'll finish that right as we go into that standardized test. I will then use some of the standardized test example problems and then go ahead and put that forward. So I hope this helped you. When I get the second grade book done, I'll go ahead and do a review on that as well and bring that to you guys. 120-ish pages. Great little book for you to do as a morning effort, a morning basket, 2 pages, 5 minutes a day. You can really get through this book very quickly, especially if you're using it the way I'm using it. It's sort of like a way to get an older student used to taking tests so the content is easy, so they get the familiarity with the actual test taking, learn some of the test taking skills, and then as the content gets more and more difficult, they don't have the fear of taking the test. They can focus on the content and getting the right answer. I hope this walkthrough helped you guys, helped you make a good decision. I would love in the comments below to share with me on how you are getting your student ready for standardized tests so we can share that with our community as well. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you next week.